How did your military MOS prepare you for civilian life? I was a 35S signal collector analyst. Basically, I listened to enemy communications all day. 8 years of sitting in dark rooms, headphones on, translating intercepted radio chatter and analyzing patterns. Thought it was the most boring job in the army. Turns out, it was perfect training for my current career as a fraud investigator. The skills transferred better than I ever imagined. Military taught me to detect deception through voice patterns, spot inconsistencies in stories, and piece together complex puzzles from fragments of information. My first civilian case involved a construction company owner claiming workers' compensation fraud. Said he couldn't lift anything over 10 pounds due to a back injury. Filed for permanent disability benefits. I spent 2 weeks conducting surveillance. Old habits kicked in immediately. Set up observation posts, logged movement patterns, documented behavior changes throughout the day. Caught him loading 50-pound bags of concrete into his truck every morning at 6 a.m. Then watched him go straight to his lawyer's office, limping dramatically, claiming he could barely walk. But the real breakthrough came from listening to his phone calls. With proper legal authorization, of course. His voice patterns completely changed when discussing the insurance claim versus talking to his crew. During fraud discussions, his speech rate slowed, pitch elevated, and he used more qualifying words. I think, maybe, possibly. Classic deception indicators I'd learned detecting lies in enemy transmissions. When talking to workers, his voice was confident, direct, authoritative. Normal, baseline behavior. The contrast was obvious once you knew what to listen for. Presented my findings to the insurance company, video evidence, audio analysis, behavioral assessment. They denied his claim immediately and referred the case for prosecution. Word spread quickly in the industry. Insurance companies started hiring me for complex fraud investigations. My military background gave me credibility with law enforcement and expertise civilians couldn't match. The interrogation skills proved invaluable too. Learned how to build rapport with subjects, ask open-ended questions, and let people talk themselves into confessions. Had a case where a woman claimed her house burned down accidentally. Fire department suspected arson but couldn't prove it. Insurance company hired me to investigate. I interviewed her using techniques from military prisoner interrogations. Not aggressive or threatening, just strategic questioning designed to expose inconsistencies. Asked about her activities the day of the fire. She provided a detailed timeline. Then I asked the same questions 3 hours later in different order. Her story changed completely. Originally claimed she was shopping when the fire started. Later said she was visiting her sister. Timeline kept shifting. Details kept changing. By the end of the interview, she admitted to setting the fire herself. Financial problems, behind on mortgage payments, desperate for insurance money. The analytical skills from signal intelligence work translated perfectly to financial fraud cases. Following money trails, identifying patterns in transactions, connecting seemingly unrelated events. Investigated a Ponzi scheme last year that involved hundreds of victims and millions in losses. Used the same methodical approach I'd applied to enemy communication networks. Mapped out the relationships between investors, traced fund movements, identified key players in the conspiracy, built a comprehensive picture of the operation from scattered pieces of evidence. My military training taught me patience too. Sometimes you monitor enemy communications for weeks before hearing anything useful. Same principle applies to fraud investigations. One case took 8 months of surveillance before I caught the subject in a compromising position. Insurance company wanted to give up after 2 months. I convinced them to keep going. The persistence paid off. Documented $400,000 in fraudulent claims. Subject got 5 years in federal prison. Insurance company saved enough money to fund my operations for a year. Started my own investigation firm 3 years ago. Now I employ 6 other veterans with intelligence backgrounds. We specialize in complex fraud cases that require military-level analysis. The irony isn't lost on me. Spent years listening to enemy secrets in Afghanistan and Iraq. Now I make a living exposing lies from American fraudsters. The enemy communications were actually more honest than most insurance claims I investigate. At least the Taliban didn't pretend to be something they weren't. Military gave me more than job skills. It taught me how to think systematically, work under pressure, and never give up when pursuing the truth. Those lessons apply to everything. My advice to transitioning veterans? Don't underestimate how your military training applies to civilian careers. Skills you think are useless might be exactly what employers need.